Hello, Commanders. Welcome to another day in Star Trek Fleet Command. I hope you all are doing very well. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing Update Patch 67, the notes, giving you my thoughts, insights, and we'll go from there. And I will warn you before we hop into this that there is a lot. I have to say it. This is definitely feels like a quantity over quality. We'll have to see how the month goes, how this arc goes, but the quality of life improvements they give us easily get eroded by new content they add, don't they? And that is super frustrating. So hopefully this research is a fantastic addition to the game. This arc, the officers, just everything will be a fun thing for people and not something that people just kind of drop off and say, get the middle finger to Scopely and say, screw you. So we'll talk about it and we'll get into that. But if you're new, please remember to hit the subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel. Hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, hit the bell notification. So you'll be aware of future content as it comes out. So I'll leave this up to you if you want to read into the Mirror Universe. I think just having another Mirror Universe arc, at least in my alliance, there are a lot of people, a number of people that were pretty excited about, even without knowing anything about it, about the potential Mirror Universe is exciting for people. So we'll have a new expansion tree, new barrier, apex barrier modifier, a lot of new stuff here. So let's hop into it. This I have actually looked into in the game. It works pretty well. I think that it's fantastic that they have added this quality of life improvement here. It doesn't save you a ton of time. I would say not when you compare it to how much time goes into doing a particular loop, like 20, 30 minutes worth, for example. If it takes you that long for a certain loop, but it is exciting, especially for new players, because there's so many officers in the game. Unless you've been here a long time, you may not know all the officers that have certain capabilities. So I've used this in the game. There's a little filter button that you just click in game, and you can sort. So I think it works pretty well. I think even for like veteran players, it probably helps too, because you may not remember all the officers, and it's a quick way to get the officer that you want. So that is pretty neat, pretty interesting. Okay, into the Mirror Universe. Let's hop into the game here. And we are looking at, if you look at Klingon space, it's just to the kind of southwest, just to the south of where Klingon space starts. So what we're looking at here, and Ultimate DJ, I think he described it really well, and I watched Rev's video too, and I can't remember if Rev referred to it in the same way, but this new loop is going to be like a dungeon crawl in some other games that are out there. And so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Essentially, you go into the dungeon and you progress through to get the loot and whatnot. You have 20 minutes to for each trip. And you're just trying to get loot, kill hostiles as much as you can. It sounds like most of the loot is going to come in the form of loot boxes, which will be good, but there is no protected cargo. And as both DJ and Rev and the patch notes seem to indicate, if you die against a player or against a hostile, you will lose all of your cargo. So hopefully that's not too impactful. This goes along, we'll see this in the research tree and other things, and I guess things we've seen recently and in the whole game maybe, but Scopely does seem to like their PvP. So whether you are on a server that's high PvP and they respect this kind of area and treat it kind of like a token system or not will be another question. That'll be up to you and your alliance, or your server, I should say, to determine your row, your rules of engagement for those who don't know regarding this space. But it's interesting when you go to the system, when you teleport to this system, you have kind of these entry points here, and you have these rifts. It's the entry rift. So if we pull this up here, you're entering the mirror universe. Spend your vouchers wisely. It's a limited time. Travel between the mirror systems require the right rarity, which can be obtained in the mirror refinery. So I expect that if you're going through, you're going to need multiple rarities in order to get all the way through the dungeon, or as far as you want to or can get. Ships can only recall or leave by using the extract rifts, which are scattered throughout the mirror universe systems. My understanding is that you won't be able to summon or use any of the other ship abilities in the game to pull them out. So you'll be stuck in the system either for the 20 minutes. I think it was 20 minutes that they talked about in the patch notes. And it shows a timing here, how long is left here. But anyways, you're either going to have the time of it that expires, or you're going to die. Either by hitting hostiles, someone hitting you, what have you. Okay? No protected cargo. Destroyed by hostile or player, you lose all cargo you were holding. And there it talks about the Discovery, Borg Cube, Gorn, and other kinds of instant warp are disabled in mirror space. So you destroy the hostiles or harvest the nodes to obtain raw Trillium, use extract rift to escape, and then you'll refine that for stuff in the refinery. So that's where the entry point is. That's where it starts. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. And I'm hoping that for the common everyday player that this isn't going to be a big pain in the butt as far as, having people that are going to just be real tools and kill you while you're trying to do just some basic stuff and get the loop accomplished. Okay. How to access, we talked about that. Now, a reminder that this is 40 plus content, so if you're not 40 plus, this won't even apply to you, but it does look like the research tree, and we'll look at that in a minute here, has quite a few things in there that can be helpful to kind of pushing you forward in your game. It kind of feels like this is part of the push to help players in the G4, G5 area to push them up. If you're G4, to push them to G5. If you're G5, to help get you into G6 easier. And even some stuff that I've seen in the research tree that should help G6 players' efficiency and so forth. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. For all eligible players, for system 300 mirror universe entry vouchers to use the entry rift and warp into the space. And where is it down here? Eligible players will receive 900 every 3 days. So that if it's 3, so that's 3 trips. You could do 1 a day, or you could do all 3 in that first day, as well as a day 1 gift in game to help them get started in the mirror universe. So I interpret that day 1 gift as, we want you to try it, but we know that on day 1 you're going to get killed by whales. So be warned. There you go. Okay, I don't like it any more than the rest of you, like low mid-level players, anyone smaller than a whale. Okay, because I think on every server you're going to have whales and tools or D-bags that are just going to want to wipe you out, right? It is what it is. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of that stuff already. Apex barrier modifier. This sounds like just another layer, another part of the calculation for your total damage. It'd be interesting to see how it works. My understanding is that you have your calculation for standard and isolated damage that will normally take place, and this will be added to the battle report. And then after the standard and isolated damage calculations are done, that your apex barrier will reduce damage. Apex barrier provides true damage mitigation from all damage sources after all other bonuses. Every 10,000, apex barrier increases the damage you can take by 100%. So without going into super detailed calculations here, what this means is that after your isolitic and standard damage is calculated, the apex barrier will reduce damage by a certain amount. And then after that, your normal 80-20 split, or however you might have officers or research that adjust that, but your normal shield hull split will apply after the apex barrier calculation is done. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that all plays out. Okay, mirror research, update 67, new research tree. Now we talked about earlier about how they have introduced this filtering system in the game for officers, which I think is great. As you can see here, I have this filtered based upon warp range, isolatic damage. You could do multiple isolatic damage officers. Okay, I think, and I would suggest, if Scopely watches my videos, that this kind of thing needs to be put into research trees. And maybe you have it sort the research trees, and it will tell you which researches you haven't completed for the various trees. For example, if I want to find efficiency research, I have to manually go through each and every tree, because there's multiple trees that have efficiency researches. Now, maybe there's some combat ones, or however else you want to sort it, but have various ways you can filter your research trees, because there's so many trees now that it's just, it's so frustrating to find what you need and what you want to focus on, right? And so I would highly encourage Scopely to come out with something like that, because this filtering for the officers is fantastic, but we need something like that for the research trees. Okay, so I digress a little bit, so let me hop into the tree here. So this first one here, obviously we have these primes, prime mirror research efficiency to reduce the cost of that, the prime apex barrier, which is going to be fantastic for helping you reduce incoming damage. And I will throw this out here that this is kind of like, it separates the gap with all this research and all these bonuses here. This is one more mechanic that is just separating the whales from the low mid-level spenders as far as the gap of PvP goes. So that can be frustrating. You have, or I already have 1 billion player ships that I can't even touch. Enemy cubes that are taking me out in different space. So that's frustrating. But I guess it is what it is. But hopefully there's some good stuff in here. But let's talk about this here. Increases apex barrier in all ships when fighting mirror universe hostiles. This research right here is going to be really good to focus on. And it sounds like from the patch notes and the difficulty of the hostiles that you're going to need this to really survive. Just pop in a couple things here. Refinery advancement. I think this is going to be key too. Hopefully there are ways to unlock this. It's not too difficult, but it's a efficiency in a way where it will help you get more out of your refinery. So that will be good. And then as you can see here, we've got versus players, versus players, versus players, versus players, versus players, versus players. So there's a whole lot versus players here. So I think the expectation is that there's going to be some PvP in the dungeon crawl in the mirror universe. Okay. Some things I do like though is that there's a number of efficiencies here. Station modules, materials efficiency, uncommon ship materials efficiency, warp efficiency, parts efficiency. Now there's some 6-star stuff here too. Well, I should mention this, uncommon isolatic defense. I like that there's more isolatic defense options, even for the 40 level, those in the 40s. But there's 6-star stuff here. And then when we go over here, you see it starts calling it rare. So my expectation is that you're going to need rare resources for stuff like this. Going to the rare systems. You have the epic stuff right here. So I think that as you go up, you're going to get more value out of it, but it's going to be harder to source this stuff. You're going to have premium, okay? And what does premium mean? Moolah, moolah, moolah. That's right. So the premium stuff is going to be basically spending. So just wanted to look at that, kind of show that to you. I think the ship plus one shot sounds interesting here. I forgot to mention that. Common, let's read this really quick here. Common is sourced by the Mirror Universe. Uncommon is sourced over time by the Mirror Universe. The last one, Premium, is currently exclusive to events in-game and the store. So, like I said before, money, and then we'll see what kind of sourcing we can get for Premium in-game. For those free-to-play or low spenders, probably focus on the common, uncommon, and then we'll just see how, as over time you're building up abilities to be able to take out tougher and tougher hostiles. It's gonna be one of those things where, kind of like a dungeon crawl, that when you first start off, you can only do maybe the first 5 minutes of a dungeon, but as you level up a character in a game, I played a couple of different games online, that you'll be able to get farther and get more loot. And hopefully this Premium eventually has a sourcing for being unlocked. So we'll have to see. Terran hostiles, I think this is kind of cool, seeing the different ships that we're going to face in the Mirror Universe. Brief look at the hostiles, and we'll probably have a deeper look and talk more about this as the arc goes on. But dismantlement at the start of the round, if the enemy player is hull breached, the ship increases its standard damage by X% for 1 round. Deadlock at combat start, hull breach enemy player for duration of combat, and we know a hull breach can significantly increase the amount of damage you're going to take. So enemies causing a hull breach on us and our ships, yeah, that's interesting. So we'll see how that goes. At the start of the round, if the enemy player's hull breach, the ship increases its isolated damage by X% for 1 round. So we could see some pretty tough hostiles, hence the apex barrier being vital, I would say. Make sure you're working on that research. There's various things here we can go into. I do like that we've got NX01 sourcing here. So hopefully that is decent sourcing and not like the Voyager sourcing where, what is it, the rare formation armadas where you get like one officer shard a day. So hopefully it's not that bad. Okay, different things here I like: Forbidden Tech, Mirror Dust, Mirror Universe vouchers. So some of these things hopefully will make, like Forbidden Tech, hopefully the sourcing there for catalyst makes it easier for you to tear up some of your Forbidden Tech. Hopefully it helps to source some of the items you need to unlock other Forbidden Tech, because that kind of stuff has been kind of locked behind paywalls. All right, new officers. Seems like a PvP month. Captain's Maneuver for Picard, which he looks buff. I do like this art. I think it looks fantastic. Start a round against players. He increases your isolated cascade damage by X for X rounds. Anti-collective on the start against players with Assimilate. Picard increases your apex barrier for X rounds, so he's increasing your damage. Cascade damage is significant in the game, and looks like some pretty big buffs here for the apex barrier. So increasing damage and reducing how much is incoming is awesome. Don't miss this. Let's see here. So 30 minutes after event reset, this will run for 10 days. So to get some free shards for Picard. Borg, or I should say assimilated data. Rare mirror data. Let's see, on combat start as a captain while against an interceptor player, mirror data increase your apex barrier by X for duration of combat. And then as officer ability against players, has a chance to apply Assimilate. So he probably pairs well with Picard, who needs Assimilate, or you could have the Dzoc, or Dzoc, I should say, below decks to apply Assimilate. So having those two, probably Picard as captain, Data as an officer, and then maybe Honor Guard Worf. I don't know. We'll have to try some different combinations, but that seems like a pretty good combination, or possibly even Carol Freeman. So we'll have to look at kind of some calculations and things there. So additional missions, you can have a look at that. And then we've got these 3 primes that we saw in the research tree. Touch base on these real quick. These look cool. So provide 500 Apex Bear in PvE, so it will help you in PvE, it looks like. 500 Apex Berry doesn't seem like a lot right now compared to some of the other percentages that you'll probably get in the game, but they do look cool. Oblique Eviscerator, and is it anyone's guess that Scopely has come out with something you can get in game? Let's see here. That helps with a difficult loop that they, I'm sure, designed on purpose so they could sell this. It's like selling you a car to someone that you know is going to break down. And you plan that so things break down right after the warranty expires, so people have to pay to keep the game or keep the car going, right? Anyways, that's me on my little tangent there. Love how Scopely designs things. Increases base max cargo, and let's see, increases Apex ship parts by 50% and Eviscerator parts by 30% in the refinery. So for those who are paying, and you know, I do have to say this, and I don't want to always come across as attacking Scopely, but I do try and call things out for the everyday player. But if you are a spender and you're not, it's not like gambling where it's an addiction, and you're not spending, you know, money for your mortgage or money for food or stuff to take care of your family, and you've got extra money and you want to spend it on the game, feel free, go for it. I have no problem whatsoever. So no shame. Battle Pass cosmetics, and then there's some bug fixes. So should be an interesting arc. We'll just have to see how things kind of pan out. My initial thoughts are that for some reason the OCD in me needs to go back to the top. So I think there's a lot of potential to help players to advance you in your game. In the research tree, I think that it's hopefully designed a way that this research tree will really be engaging to the players and help you in your gameplay. The number one concern I have is that is it going to be so difficult and for some people, because they're just going to get blown up by other larger players, that they're not going to want to participate in the loop. Also, has Scopely added so much for you in your game that doing the loop is just that one more thing, and maybe it's that feather or whatever on the camel's back that just broke it. It's like, I'm done. I just can't keep up with all the stuff to keep adding to the game. Hopefully that's not you. Hopefully you can take a step back and say, is this a value, and what else can you take out of your game or reduce out of your daily gameplay if you see value in it. So I'd love to hear from you all. What do you think about the arc ball? What do you think about the research? Is this something that you're going to engage in, or is it just too much for you? We'll be investigating and testing with Hostels this month, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But hopefully this is a good month for you all. Hopefully you have fun. And like I always say at the end of my videos, remember to keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun. And don't let Scopely tell you how to play the game, whether that's you choose to engage in this content or not. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope we all have a wonderful month. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next time.